Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Here. Mrs. Blaine's running out of here really quickly. Look at her. She's running. Uh-oh.
I found this.
What do you want to say to the big kids at the high school?
Hi.
What's your name?
Annabelle.
What's your favorite thing to do?
Build the Disney Princess Legos.
Hey, what's your name?
Baby Big Eyes.
What's your name?
Oh. Charlotte. We got Baby Big Eyes because she's a baby and she has big eyes.
All right, you got to get out of here. Dad's going to talk about a sad topic. This is the positive for the day. All right, bye. I love you.
Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye.
All right, got to get out of here. Bye. This is sad. Close the door, please.
Oh.
Topic today, 9/11. I'm glad we started on a positive note for you guys. All right, so topic today is 9/11. I'm gonna go through the history of it. A lot of stuff you probably don't know. We're getting to the point in history where you kind of know about 9/11, but it's really critical we go back and actually do a good job teaching it. So in order to understand 9/11, we got to go back to Osama bin Laden. So I'm going to go back and trace you to his roots, where he came from. So he's born in Saudi Arabia, 1957, and he's born into a very wealthy family. This is what allows him to really engage in what really questionable activities because he comes from a lot of money. So his father was actually a giant builder. He had the largest construction company in the Middle East, still around today. Right, building multi-million-dollar projects. Here's the airport in Dubai. He's built projects in Saudi Arabia as well. So he's got a very close connection to Saudi Arabia's royal family because he's so wealthy himself. He's built a lot of the projects for the royal family, their own palaces. So Saudi's royal family and the bin Ladens are very close. And that's established early on. All right, so the father's name, Mohammed bin Laden's plane, crashes in Yemen, right in the border between Saudi Arabia and Yemen, 1967, and he dies. So his children have a lot of inheritance money going their way. Osama bin Laden in 1967 inherited close to 150 million US dollars in the 60s. And here's a picture. I mean, if you look at Osama bin Laden here, this is him on the far right, and that's him right there. When he's a kid, he looks very Western. I mean, he's dressing like Westerners, like Saudi Arabia wanted. He attends university, studied business, right? You would not know this guy would eventually turn into Osama bin Laden, the world's most famous international terrorist. So, what changed all of this? Basically, in 1979, when the Soviet Union invades Afghanistan. If you remember from last year, Afghanistan, they're predominantly Muslims. They want to practice their religion. The Soviet Union is communist, which means there's no religion. And when the Soviet Union goes in Afghanistan and they are killing off the Mujahideen, to Muslims, this is war against their religion. And this gives them in their religion the right of jihad, which they believe is a right to protect their religion at all costs. And that means if it means killing, in the name of killing and murdering, in the name of protecting religion, you may do so. It's your obligation, the jihad. So he goes into Afghanistan in 1979 because he religiously believes that's the right thing to do for his religion. He went to fight. He's a great recruiter, and he's also there to raise money. He works with the Mujahideen, the early fighters of Afghanistan against the Soviets. And while he's there, he earns reputation for combat bravery. He's a great speaker as well. And he becomes a strong, true believer of this radical view of Islam. So you put it all together. He's a great fighter. He's a great speaker. And now he's able to pull people into believing that he's something special within religion because of his dedication to the religion itself. And in this time frame, since he's got a college education, he is using computers. He creates a new computer database for followers to recruit, and he called it Al-Qaeda. Okay, Arabic for the word base. So Al-Qaeda is actually a recruitment software program built by Osama bin Laden to recruit soldiers in to the fight against the Soviets, and eventually would be the name of his terrorist organization, the base. All right. So the Mujahideen actually met with Ronald Reagan in the 80s because we were fighting with them against the Soviets because America hated the Soviet Union. Yeah, kind of a weird picture. Hasn't aged well. All right, so Saudi Arabia, we'll get to that story. So it's all said and done. Osama bin Laden gains valuable experience how to fight in the mountains, how to go against a superpower and win. So the conflict ends in 1989. He returns from Afghanistan. He goes to Saudi Arabia. He learned guerrilla warfare tactics. So the war is basically over. So he goes back to Saudi Arabia and he wants to create a new base within Saudi Arabia to help Saudi Arabia as well. He wants to recruit and make Al Qaeda in Saudi Arabia. Because by 1990, that is when Saddam Hussein of Iraq has gone into Kuwait and taken the oil. So Osama bin Laden, since he's close to the Saudi royal family, goes back there and he's like, okay, I can easily protect you. I know how to win against power. Let me build a military, almost like militia base in Saudi Arabia for your protection. And that's what he's offering. But at the same time, the United States is also wanting really cheap, inexpensive oil. So the United States says, we'll help you out against Saddam Hussein as well. So there's two offers on the table. You've got Osama bin Laden's offer of a military militia, or the United States offer to come in the world superpower that we are. So this is when Osama bin Laden and the royal family have a little bit of a rift because the royal family of Saudi Arabia selects the United States. And this enraged Osama. All right. So here's a quote there. But the greatest disaster of befell Muslims is the occupation of Saudi Arabia, which is the cornerstone of the Islamic world, the place of revelation, was sold out to the Israelis and the Americans. This is Osama bin Laden's direct words saying he viewed Saudi Arabia, the holy place where you have we have Mecca, the holiest place in Islam. The United States goes there. The United States is a supporter of Israel, and this would really ticked off Osama bin Laden with the royal family and with the United States. He did not like them. So since he's rejected in Saudi Arabia, he goes to Sudan in 1991, and he begins to build his forces there because Sudan is predominantly Muslim. Okay, so he goes there and builds his base in Sudan. So 1990s, what he's starting to do is he's trying to find a way to strike out, and he does not like the United States' emergence as a global power and its position against the Muslim world. So, yeah, here's this point. He saw America as the vanguard of global crusade and the part of Christians and Jews to crush the Islamic resurgence. So it's a religious war to him. It's Christians and Jews gaining up against Muslims like himself. So, yeah. So what happens next that really starts to give him an idea is there's another radical Islamic group that bombs the World Trade Center. We talked about it a few days ago in 1993. That's his inspiration. He sees how powerful a shock it is to the world when this happens. And he realizes his best way is to hit soft targets of the United States around the world. So he begins to send his fighters all around the world to build his own bases, to build Al Qaeda up to strike at soft U.S. targets around the world in revenge. And because he's doing this, Saudi Arabia, who's been loyal to America, froze all of his money. They basically lock his bank accounts down, and he's got to generate his own wealth. So that's why he's going out and he's trying to recruit internationally. He's trying to gain his own funds because the country that used to love him has now froze all of his money in his accounts. All right. So the big thing that really ticked him off why he's going to plan 9/11 is America's favoring of Israel. Remember, we've always backed Israel since it was founded in 1946. America has backed Israel with money and weapons again. And if you remember promises last year, Faj, he didn't like the Americans either because the Americans were the one who always allowed the Israelis to always win war after war after war. America has given aid to Israel, and Muslims see it as America, predominantly Christian, giving money to Jews who are killing Muslims to defend their homeland. So they view America as the great evil. So you look at the overall breakdown, we have given a huge amount of money to Israel. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat, but we appropriate a lot of money for Israel year after year. And here's how Israel views itself. It's really good. It's it versus the Arab world. So it's fighting for its survival. That's why the U.S. backs it with economic and military aid. It doesn't matter who the president is, Republican or Democrat. We send a lot of money to Israel. Right? So, yeah, millions. Yeah, that's a lot of money. Yeah. A lot of money going to Israel. And Israel, remember, has basically is taking the land from the Palestinians. Here's Palestinian land in black. Here's Israeli land in this kind of burnt orange. Israel is just taking over. The Muslims just really ticked them off. All right. So, all right. So, fact number 2: U.S. military, when we rolled in the Persian Gulf War, it really ticked off Osama bin Laden because the holy land of Islam was occupied by these Americans, predominantly Christian, giving money to Jews. So, Persian Gulf War, you can look at all the different sites, Medina, Mecca, and Saudi Arabia, and America was in Saudi Arabia. So, yeah, Desert Storm. So, here's the story where it goes next. Osama bin Laden was in Sudan and eventually goes back to Afghanistan. All right. Sudan expels Osama bin Laden because of the terrorist act he's doing around the world. So he goes from Sudan, moves his base back to Afghanistan. He's welcomed back by this group of leaders called the Taliban. The Taliban are tribal leaders who have control of certain areas of Afghanistan. So the Taliban works with Osama bin Laden and they coexist. So the Taliban and Al-Qaeda coexist in Afghanistan. The Taliban are the leaders of different areas and Al-Qaeda are the actual soldiers. So they need each other for control. And then finally in 1998, and Osama bin Laden is ready for an attack against the United States, and he attacks the U.S. embassies around the world in 1998. Soft targets, goes after the embassies, tries to kill Americans there by overwhelming with numbers. Right. So here's some attacks throughout Africa. All right. I mean, pretty powerful bombings, similar to what Oklahoma City. You see like a Ryder truck packed with fertilizer, these massive explosions. So, and then he bombed the USS Cole. The USS Cole was an American destroyer, and they basically loaded up a boat with TNT and rammed it into the side of the USS Cole. And it was shot powerful. I remember I was at class at Grand Valley, and my art teacher's brother was on board the USS Cole, and she was just shaken that day. She canceled class, and I had not remembered something like that, a direct attack against Americans. It was kind of shocking. Oftentimes you forget about the USS Cole, but all this is giving bin Laden more idea that he has to do something bigger, and that's when he turns his attention. There's USS Cole. So he turns his attention to 9/11. So part 2 is here. So all right. So yeah. All right. Look at this. A lot of stuff you know about, but I just want to give you the backstory for the first part. This stuff is what you're more familiar with. So there are basically 4 targets. One was the World Trade Center in New York because it represents our economic strength. The Pentagon, located in Washington, D.C., is where all our military decisions are made. The White House is the symbol of our democracy. It's the Capitol building. All right. And then the fourth, the fourth would be, 3 was the White House, and 4th would be the U.S. Capitol. 2 different things, but they represent our democracy. Where the president is and the Capitol is where our democracy, where our diplomats meet. Those are the 4 major targets that we struck. And that's all symbolic reasons. So I'd show you this in class, and I know you've seen a lot of stuff yourself, but I try to find footage you have not seen before. So yeah. Sad just kind of looking at all this stuff. Here's why Osama bin Laden attacked them in this quote here. Such momentous construction are bound to intrude on the subconscious as they're meant to be. Those awesome symbolic towers that speak of liberty, human rights, and humanity. So this is everything America stood for. And by having that plane crash into it, it was attacking against everything Americans stood for. So I'd show you a lot of stuff in class. It's just something we work through together. I'm not going to show you it there. So you can just see all the different angles of the planes crashing. And the Pentagon, the plane flew right through this area. Multiple layers of the Pentagon. There's different images you can see of the plane going through. Yeah. Every time watching a documentary, and these windows are sealed for protection. Oftentimes they don't open for obvious reasons. And as the fire raged in different areas, you saw people trying to get out but couldn't get out. Eventually, some of the fire, they were able to break the windows from the outside and free some of the people. But so here's a picture before Pentagon, and here's the spot from above. You can see the fire burned down the halls of the Pentagon. And these 19 hijackers really, they're all college educated. Yeah. But they believed in this radical form of vengeance and terrorism in the name of a religion. So here are the 4 different planes designed to attack the 4 different targets. All right. Here's the flight path. You can see all these different areas. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. Here's the first flight out of DC. At this point, they took control of the cabin, turned the plane around. And this is when the plane strikes the Pentagon. All right. Here are the 2 flights that start the World Trade Center out of Boston. Control of the plane. Right. And there's the second one. Went around and struck the second tower. And this third one here is the one where they got control, the terrorists did, but they think there was a fight between the personnel on the plane, just Americans who were sick of it, and they ended up rushing the terrorists who control the plane. And because they do that, they're able to get in a fight. We don't exactly know what happens there, but the plane crash lands in Pennsylvania, and you draw down where it was going. It was going right to Washington, all right, to either take out the White House or the Capitol building. Those are the 4 spots. All right. Here's the Flight 93 crash in Pennsylvania. Sifted through this. They were get the black box out to hear some of the conversations, and some of them are put together by cell phone use. People are talking about what they were going to do between their loved ones. Yeah, they're the other targets. Luckily, never made it there. So, yeah, it's a game changer. One of those things in your life. There's a life before 9/11, and there's a life after 9/11. It's just a different world you never knew. I was a sophomore, just starting my idea of teaching history, but I knew at that moment I had to teach history. So, all right, you made it through that one. The first part was a lot easier than the second part, my kids. All right, so walk through it. All right, stay safe out there as always. Bye.